Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're taking a deep dive into large language models, or LLMs for short.
LLMs, that's right.
And, we're going to break down exactly how these powerful systems work, especially for anyone who's just getting started with AI.
Yeah, it's really amazing what LLMs can do.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it for a second. They can hold conversations that feel almost human.
It's true.
Or, they can summarize complex documents in just seconds.
Yeah, that's the magic of LLMs.
It really is.
But behind all that impressive output,
Right.
there's a ton of computation going on.
Oh, yeah, a ton.
Like, how does it actually work?
Well, it's kind of like training for the Olympics. You need the right fuel and equipment.
I like that analogy.
Right.
Okay, so for LLMs, what's the fuel?
So the fuel is massive amounts of data.
Got it.
And the equipment is the hardware that can handle all that data processing.
So that's where GPUs come in.
Exactly. GPUs or graphics processing units, they're the workhorses behind all of this.
Okay, so break that down for me. Why GPUs? Why are they so important for LLMs?
So training an LLM, it's basically like teaching a computer to understand and generate human language.
Huge task.
Huge task. It requires processing a massive amount of text data.
And GPUs are built for this.
They are designed for exactly this kind of massive parallel processing, so they can handle tons of calculations all at the same time.
Okay, parallel processing?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Think of a CPU, the brain of your computer, as a single chef
Okay, with you.
that's trying to prepare this huge feast.
Okay.
It can handle each task, but only one at a time.
Right.
A GPU, on the other hand, it's like having a whole team of chefs all working in parallel, each of them specializing in a different part of the meal.
Oh, I like that.
So this parallel approach, that's what makes GPUs so efficient at handling matrix multiplications,
Which
are the core math operations behind deep learning.
Oh, okay, so it's like an assembly line for data.
Yeah, think of it that way.
Each part of the GPU tackles a specific piece, and together they just work way faster than a CPU ever could.
Exactly. And because LLMs need to process so much data, that speed is absolutely essential.
It's got to be fast.
It does.
And it's not just about processing speed, is it?
No, it's not.
What about memory?
Well, GPUs also have really efficient memory bandwidth,
Okay.
which means they can quickly access and move the huge amounts of data needed to train these models.
So if I wanted to build my own LLM, we're talking serious GPU power here.
Yeah, you would need a lot of GPU power.
Like how much are we talking?
Well, if you were a large research lab or, a big tech giant,
Got it.
you might go out and buy all of that.
Uh-huh.
But for most people, building and maintaining that kind of infrastructure
Right.
would be incredibly expensive and complex.
It would be a lot.
It would be a lot.
So how do regular people get access to this power?
That is the question.
Do we just have to sit on the sidelines and watch the big players have all the fun?
No, this is where cloud providers come in.
Okay. The cloud, tell me more.
They have really democratized access to these powerful GPUs. So companies like AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, they have massive data centers filled with these high-performance GPUs.
So instead of me buying a supercomputer, I could just rent some GPU power from the cloud.
Exactly. I think of it like renting a really powerful sports car.
Ooh. I like where this is going.
Just for the weekend, you get to experience the thrill,
Right.
but you don't have to deal with owning it or maintaining it.
You get to have all the fun without any of the responsibility.
Exactly. Cloud providers let you tap into that GPU power on demand, and you pay for what you use.
It makes it accessible to so many more people.
It really does.
That's amazing.
And even if you're on a tighter budget.
Yeah, because not everyone has a ton of money to throw around.
Right. And there are options for that, too.
Like what?
There are smaller providers like Lambda Labs Paperspace,
Okay.
and they offer more affordable GPU rental plans, so they really cater to researchers and startups.
That's great. I love that there's so many options out there.
There are.
So we've got the cloud making GPUs accessible. But who is actually making these GPUs?
Well, when it comes to GPUs for AI,
Yeah.
NVIDIA is kind of the big player.
They're the big name.
They pretty much dominate the market,
Wow.
particularly with their high-end GPUs like the A100 and the H100.
So if someone is serious about LLMs,
Yeah,
NVIDIA is the way to go.
they are a major player for sure, especially the H100.
What's special about that one?
It has a special feature called a transformer engine.
Transformer engine. What does that do?
It's specifically designed to speed up the tasks
Okay.
that are involved in LLM training.
That makes sense.
But NVIDIA isn't the only game in town.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
AMD is a strong competitor
Okay, I've heard of them.
with their Instinct MI200 series.
Right.
And they're known for being very cost efficient.
Which is important.
Which is very important because training these massive models can rack up huge bills.
For sure.
So that's something to keep in mind.
So we've got NVIDIA with its raw power, and then we've got AMD offering a more budget-friendly option.
Yeah, you could put it that way.
What about Intel?
Hmm.
I feel like they're a big player in processors.
Intel is definitely in the game,
They are.
but they're a bit newer to this high-performance GPU market.
I see.
They're XGPUs. They're becoming a viable alternative, though,
They are.
especially for tasks that focus on using a trained LLM
Okay.
rather than training it from scratch.
So they're better for maybe smaller projects or...
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
So it sounds like we've got a real race going on here,
we do.
which is good for innovation, right?
Absolutely.
The more competition, the better the technology gets.
That's the idea.
Awesome. Okay, so we've talked about those big players.
We have.
What about anything else? Like, are there any other companies doing interesting things in the GPU space?
Yeah, there are companies that are getting really creative
Oh, I like that.
and designing specialized hardware
Like what?
that's specifically tailored for AI tasks.
Oh, wow.
And one example is Google.
Google, of course, they're doing a lot with AI.
Right, they developed their own chips
Uh-huh.
called tensor processing units, or TPUs.
I think I've heard of those.
You probably have.
Are they related to Google's own AI stuff?
Oh, yeah, they use TPUs extensively for LLMs,
They do?
especially in their own models like Bard.
Oh.
So they're not technically GPUs,
Okay.
but they're custom built for this kind of matrix math that powers deep learning.
So Google's kind of doing their own thing here.
They are.
What about Apple? I feel like they always have the best chips for their phones and stuff.
Apple's M1 and M2 chips, they are impressive
They are.
for their size and power efficiency,
Right.
but they're more focused on running AI tasks directly on your phone or laptop.
Got it.
They're not quite ready for the heavy lifting of training massive LLMs in the cloud.
So maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
It seems like we've got this whole ecosystem here.
You do?
From those big players like NVIDIA, AMD,
Right.
to the specialized hardware like Google's TPUs,
Hmm.
and then the cloud providers making it all accessible.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much is happening in this field.
It is an exciting time.
It really is.
And we're really just scratching the surface.
Oh, really?
There are some truly cutting-edge developments happening in GPU technology
Good.
that are pushing the boundaries of what's possible with LLMs.
Ooh, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more. Where is this all heading?
Well, one of the key challenges is scaling up. How do we train even larger and more complex models
Yeah.
without needing, years and a small country's worth of electricity?
It does seem like a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
So how are researchers tackling that?
Well, this is where multi-GPU scaling comes in.
Okay.
It's a technique for distributing the training workload
Got it.
across multiple GPUs.
Okay.
So imagine splitting a giant puzzle into smaller pieces
Uh-huh.
and having a whole team of people working on them all at the same time.
So it's all about teamwork.
Yeah, you could say that.
Many hands make light work. Many GPUs make for faster training.
Exactly. This kind of distributed computing can drastically reduce training time,
Wow.
which lets researchers iterate faster
Oh,
and create more sophisticated models.
gotcha. But speed isn't the only consideration, right?
No, it's not.
What about energy efficiency?
Yeah, there's a growing focus on that too.
Makes sense we want to train these powerful LLMs
Right.
without also powering a small city.
Exactly. The newer GPUs, they're designed to be more power efficient,
Good.
which is good for the environment
And our wallets.
and our wallets. Exactly.
So win-win.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Maximizing performance while minimizing energy consumption.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So are there any other exciting developments on the horizon? Anything that's really pushing the boundaries?
Yeah, well, one example is NVIDIA's H100 GPU.
Yeah.
It introduced a new way to represent numbers
Uh-huh.
called FP8 precision. It's a little technical.
Yeah.
But basically, it allows the GPU to process information more efficiently, which potentially leads to faster training without sacrificing too much accuracy.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary here.
Absolutely. We are only at the beginning of this LLM revolution,
Yeah.
and the future holds some really incredible possibilities.
It's an exciting time to be involved in this.
Yes.
It really is. This has been so insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I feel like I've gotten a crash course in the world of LLMs and the GPUs that power them.
That's great to hear.
Is there anything else we should touch on before we move on to the next part of our deep dive?
We've talked a lot about the hardware and the technical aspects,
We have.
but it's important to remember that these are really powerful tools,
Yeah,
and they have real-world implications.
absolutely.
How we use them and the ethical considerations involved are just as important.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation we could have.
Exactly.
But for now, I think we need to give our listeners a chance to process all of this incredible information.
Probably a good idea.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We'll be back in a moment to continue our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back.
All right, so we're back.
And I'm excited to dive a little deeper
Me too.
into some of these cutting-edge developments.
Yeah, you were talking about how companies are getting really creative with hardware,
Yeah.
like those custom AI accelerators
Yes.
you mentioned earlier.
Right.
What's the story there? They sound like they could really shake things up.
They could. They really could. So you have companies like Cerebras and GraphCore,
Okay,
and they're challenging the traditional way we think about GPUs.
that's so
They're designing chips specifically optimized for AI workloads.
interesting.
So, for example, Cerebras has this massive chip called the Wafer Scale Engine, or WSE.
For scale engine, that sounds intense.
It is. It's pretty intense.
What's so special about it?
It's basically an entire wafer-sized processor
Wow.
that is dedicated to AI.
So instead of connecting multiple GPUs together,
Right.
they just made one giant, super specialized chip.
Exactly. They took that bigger is better philosophy
They did.
to a whole new level.
And by eliminating the need for communication between separate chips,
Yes.
does that increase performance?
It can achieve incredible performance and efficiency
Wow.
for certain AI tasks.
Okay, so are these custom accelerators going to replace traditional GPUs altogether?
That's a good question.
Is this the future?
It's hard to say. It's still early days,
Yeah.
and traditional GPUs are incredibly versatile.
Right. They're good for a lot of things.
They are. So they're great for gaming graphics, rendering all kinds of scientific applications.
No, they're not going away anytime soon.
Probably not, but these AI accelerators, they could become a major force in the LLM landscape, especially as these models get even more complex.
It's like we're watching an evolution in real time.
It really is.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the hardware, but I'm also curious about the process itself.
Yeah.
Like, how do researchers actually train these massive LLM models? It sounds like a monumental task.
It is a huge task.
It is.
Training an LLM is like teaching a computer to understand and generate human language,
Right, which is incredibly difficult.
which is very difficult, and it requires a ton of data.
And computing power.
And computing power, that's right.
I bet.
It involves feeding vast amounts of text data into the model and allowing it to learn patterns and relationships.
Got it.
And this process often utilizes hundreds or even thousands of GPUs, all working in parallel.
Wow. So it's not just about the hardware. It's also about the data itself
It is.
and the algorithms that can make sense of it all.
It's like all of these factors
Coming together
coming together at the right time.
to make LLMs possible.
Exactly. And as the field advances, we're seeing some really cool new techniques
Like what?
for training these models more efficiently.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And one of these techniques is called transfer learning.
Transfer learning. I haven't heard of that one.
So imagine you've learned to play the piano,
Okay, I can do that.
and now you want to learn the guitar.
Okay.
You don't have to start from scratch, right? Right. You can apply some of what you already know
Exactly. You can transfer your musical knowledge.
from one instrument to another.
Yes.
Yeah.
And transfer learning in AI, it works in a similar way.
So you're saying researchers can take a model that's already been trained
Yes.
on a huge data set,
Uh-huh.
like one that understands basic English grammar and vocabulary,
Right.
and then fine-tune it for a more specific task.
Exactly. So instead of starting from zero every time,
They're giving the LLM a head start.
you got it.
That's awesome.
It is, and it has another benefit too.
What's that?
It can reduce the amount of data
Oh, wow.
that you need for training a new model.
So it's more efficient.
It is, and this is really important as we think about making LLMs more accessible.
Okay, how so?
Because not everyone has access to the massive data sets
Right.
that, the big tech companies have.
So it's not just about efficiency.
No.
It's also about leveling the playing field
Exactly.
so that more people can participate.
Right.
That's fantastic. And it is, and this kind of brings us back to the importance of those cloud providers,
Yeah.
in democratizing access to this technology.
Yeah, because they provide that platform
They do.
for people to experiment without having to build their own data centers.
Right. It's like they're providing the tools and the playground
Exactly.
for the next generation of AI innovators.
That's a great way to put it.
And with all these advancements in hardware and training techniques,
Yeah,
who knows what incredible applications we'll see in the future.
I know. It's so exciting to think about.
It really is.
But I have to admit, my brain is starting to feel a bit overloaded.
I understand.
It's amazing how much there is to learn.
It is a lot to take in,
It is.
especially when you're first diving into this world.
For sure.
But you don't have to understand every single technical detail
Right.
to appreciate the potential of LLMs.
You're right. It's like enjoying a delicious meal
Yeah,
without needing to know the exact recipe
exactly.
or all the cooking techniques involved.
Yeah. That's a great way to think about it.
I'm glad you like it.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
We're trying to expose you to those key concepts
Uh-huh.
and the major players and the possibilities of LLMs.
And hopefully spark some curiosity
Exactly.
for people to go out and learn more.
That's the idea.
Well, mission accomplished, because I'm definitely feeling inspired.
That's great to hear.
But for now, I think we need to give our listeners a chance to catch their breath
Probably a good idea.
and digest everything we've covered so far.
I've covered a lot.
We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up with some final thoughts and insights.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive
Back again.
into the world of LLMs and the GPUs that power them.
That's right.
And, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the hardware
Uh-huh.
to the cutting-edge advancements.
It's the cutting edge.
It really does feel like we're witnessing a revolution in real time.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? It really does. So let's talk about the future.
Okay.
Where do you see LLMs heading in the next few years?
Well, one thing's for sure, we can expect to see even more powerful and more sophisticated models.
So bigger is better when it comes to LLMs.
Well, to some extent, yes. Larger models, they tend to have a greater capacity for learning,
Okay.
and they can perform more complex tasks.
Got it.
But there's also this growing focus on efficiency and accessibility.
That makes sense, because it's not just about building these massive models.
No, it's not.
It's also about making them practical
Yeah.
and usable in the real world.
Exactly. So we're seeing a lot of research into techniques for compressing and optimizing these large models
Oh, wow.
so that they can run efficiently on less powerful hardware,
Even on personal devices.
even on personal devices.
Oh, wow. So instead of needing a supercomputer,
Right.
we could see LLMs running smoothly on our laptops.
Yeah.
Or even smartphones.
But that's the idea. Imagine a world where you can just have a natural conversation with your computer
I like it.
and it understands you.
It gets you.
It gets you.
And it can help you complete tasks
Effortlessly.
effortlessly. Or, picture writers collaborating with AI
Yes.
to generate new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And really push the boundaries of storytelling.
Absolutely. There are so many possibilities.
There are. It's exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
Well, that's the thing with all this power.
Yeah.
Comes great responsibility.
We have to make sure these tools are used ethically
We do.
and for the benefit of everyone.
That's right. As LLMs become more integrated into our lives,
Yeah.
it's crucial to consider those potential risks.
And challenges.
And challenges, yes. What are some of those challenges?
Yeah. What should we be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest is ensuring fairness and preventing bias.
Bias. How so?
Well, LLMs are trained on these massive data sets, right?
Right. Massive amounts of information.
And if those data sets contain biases,
Okay.
the model can actually perpetuate those biases
Oh, wow.
in its output.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah.
It's about the data we use to train these models
Yes.
and how we apply them in the real world.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted challenge that requires a lot of collaboration.
To treat who?
Researchers, developers, ethicists, policymakers.
Everyone needs to be involved.
Everyone needs to be on board. The future of AI depends on us developing these technologies responsibly.
And ensuring that those benefits are shared widely.
That's right.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I would say the most important takeaway is that we are at a pivotal moment
A pivotal moment.
in the development of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
LLMs have the potential to revolutionize countless aspects of our lives.
They do.
The way we work, the way we interact with the world around us.
It's true.
But it's up to us to approach this technology with a sense of responsibility,
Yeah.
ensuring it's used ethically and for the benefit of all.
Well said. This has been an incredible journey,
It has.
exploring this fascinating world with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity.
I hope so.
and inspired you to learn more about this incredible world of LLMs and the GPUs that power them. And remember, if you're ready to take your knowledge to the next level, Shigini offers expert training and consultancy to guide you on your AI journey. You can find them at scooty.com. And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.